I thought I had the perfect marriage. 8 years with Natalie, a beautiful suburban home and successful careers that were the envy of our friends. Then I noticed the late nights password changes and secretive phone calls. One evening I glimpsed financial documents about asset division in her bag. My heart sank as I realized my wife might be planning to divorce me and take everything we had built together. I never thought I would have to protect myself from the woman I loved. Before I tell you how I discovered my wife's betrayal, let me know where you are watching from and hit that subscribe button while I gather the courage to share what happened next. I met Natalie at a friend's birthday party during our final year of graduate school. She walked in wearing a blue dress that matched her eyes, and I was captivated immediately. Her intelligence and charm drew me in, and we spent the entire night talking in a corner while the party continued around us. She worked in fashion marketing, then ambitious and full of creative ideas. I was completing my computer science degree, dreaming of starting my own software company someday. Our relationship moved quickly. Within 6 months, we were living together in a small apartment near campus. After 18 months of dating, I proposed during a weekend trip to the mountains. I still remember her tears of joy as she said yes. We married in a small ceremony with close friends and family, starting our life together with more love than money. I come from a working-class family in Michigan. My parents taught me the value of hard work and honesty from an early age. I put myself through college with scholarships and part-time jobs, often working nights, while studying during the day. These experiences shaped my perspective on money and success. I believed in earning everything through honest work and dedication. The early years of our marriage were challenging but beautiful. We struggled financially as I worked entry-level programming jobs while developing my software ideas at night. Natalie supported us with her marketing salary while I chased my entrepreneurial dreams. We lived in a tiny one-bedroom apartment, saved every penny, and dreamed about our future together. Those simple days were filled with takeout dinners on our second-hand couch, weekend hikes that cost nothing but time, and endless conversations about our hopes and plans. When your company takes off, we will buy a house with a garden, Natalie would say, curled against me on our lumpy sofa. And I will open that boutique I have always wanted. I would kiss her forehead and promise to make it happen. In those moments, I believed we were invincible together. After 3 years of marriage, my hard work began to pay off. My inventory management software gained traction with small businesses, then medium-sized companies, and finally, several large retail chains. Suddenly, the long hours and financial struggles transformed into success beyond what we had imagined. As the company grew, our lifestyle changed dramatically. We purchased a beautiful 4-bedroom house in an upscale neighborhood with manicured lawns and friendly neighbors. I bought Natalie the luxury car she had always wanted. Our weekends of free hiking trails became international vacations and spa retreats. True to my promise, I invested $100,000 to help Natalie open her clothing boutique in an exclusive shopping district. She had an eye for fashion and curated a collection that attracted wealthy clients. The boutique did not generate significant profit initially, but I continued funding it because it made her happy. I believed we were partners in everything, supporting each other's dreams unconditionally. We developed a wide social circle of successful couples. We hosted dinner parties in our newly renovated kitchen, attended charity galas, and joined the local country club. From the outside, our life appeared perfect. I thought it was perfect from the inside, too. The first changes were so subtle that I almost missed them. About 6 months ago, Natalie began staying late at her boutique several nights a week. When I offered to bring dinner to the shop, she would say she was too busy with inventory or meeting suppliers. If I suggested picking her up, she always had an excuse about finishing work tasks or having drinks with her new assistant. New names began appearing in her conversations, people I had never met. There was Amanda from her yoga class, Sophia, who apparently consulted on boutique management, and Brian, who advised her on business expansion. Whenever I suggested meeting these new friends, Natalie would change the subject or claim they were too busy. I noticed other small changes too. She began dressing differently, wearing more makeup and spending more time at hair salons and spa appointments. Natalie had always been fashionable, but now She seemed to be creating a new image for herself. When I complimented her appearance, her smile never quite reached her eyes. Phone conversations would end abruptly when I walked into a room. The bathroom door was always locked during her long calls. She began taking her phone everywhere, even to the bathroom, and I noticed she had changed all her passwords. At first, I dismissed my concerns as paranoia. Perhaps I was working too much and projecting my insecurities onto our relationship. Maybe Natalie was just focused on growing her business. I convinced myself that marriages go through phases, and this distant period would pass naturally. Then I began noticing financial irregularities. Reviewing our joint account statements, I discovered unusual withdrawals, $2,000 here, $3,000 there. When I casually mentioned these transactions, Natalie claimed they were for boutique expenses, new inventory, and marketing costs. Her explanations seemed reasonable, but something felt wrong. One afternoon, while looking for a receipt in her desk drawer, I found a bank statement for an account I did not recognize. Natalie had opened a separate account 3 months earlier and had been transferring small amounts regularly from our joint savings. The most alarming discovery came when Natalie left her purse open on the kitchen counter. Inside was a business card for Patricia Winters, one of the most aggressive divorce attorneys in our city, known for her ruthless approach to securing maximum assets for her clients. The back of the card had notes about an appointment scheduled for the following week. That night, I lay awake beside my sleeping wife, my mind racing with possibilities. Was she unhappy? Had she met someone else? Or was this simply about money? The woman breathing softly next to me suddenly felt like a stranger, and my beautiful home felt like quicksand beneath my feet. The confirmation I dreaded came on a Tuesday afternoon. Natalie had forgotten to log out of her email on our shared laptop. I did not make a habit of snooping, but a subject line caught my eye: Asset Division Strategy Meeting Notes. My finger hovered over the mouse, my conscience battling with self-preservation. Finally, I clicked. The email was from Patricia Winters' office summarizing their consultation. It detailed questions about my company valuation, our home equity investment accounts, and potential strategies to maximize Natalie's settlement. There was specific mention of timing the divorce filing to coincide with an upcoming software release that would significantly increase my company's value. My hands shaking, I clicked through her other emails and discovered a hidden folder on the laptop. Inside were meticulously detailed spreadsheets of all our assets, documents from our safe that she had scanned, and even photos of my home office papers. Most disturbing were her browser searches: how to get maximum assets in divorce, divorcing a successful entrepreneur, and hiding spending from spouse. The evidence was irrefutable. My wife of 8 years was strategically planning to leave me and take as much as possible in the process. The betrayal knocked the wind from my lungs. I sat alone in my home office, surrounded by mementos of our life together, feeling as though the floor had disappeared beneath me. That night, I barely slept. By morning, grief had hardened into resolve. I would not confront Natalie, yet would not reveal that I knew her plans. Instead, I would protect myself while there was still time, all while maintaining the facade of normalcy. The next day, I scheduled a discreet meeting with Harold Mason, a respected divorce attorney recommended by my business partner. I chose a lawyer from a different social circle than ours, someone Natalie would not know through our connections. Harold's office was understated, but elegant, with dark wood furnishings and walls lined with law books. He listened carefully as I presented the evidence of Natalie's plans, occasionally taking notes but mostly watching me with experienced eyes. Unfortunately, this scenario is more common than you might think, Harold said after I finished. Especially with high net worth individuals. The good news is that you discovered this before she filed. He explained our state's equitable distribution laws, which meant marital assets would be divided fairly, not necessarily equally. The most vulnerable asset was my software company, which had grown exponentially during our marriage, making a significant portion of its value marital property. What can I do? I asked, feeling trapped. First, document everything, Harold advised. Her secret account, the consultation with Patricia Winters, the hidden folder, all of it. Second, we need to legally protect your assets without appearing to hide them. I struggled with the ethics of taking preemptive action. I do not want to do anything underhanded, I explained. I built my success honestly, and want to handle even this situation with integrity." Harold nodded. "I respect that. We will only use legitimate business and financial strategies. Nothing we do will violate any laws or ethical standards. But you have the right to protect yourself from someone planning to take advantage of you." Over the next few days, I gathered more information. Through a mutual business acquaintance, I learned that Natalie had been seen meeting with executives from CompTech Industries, my company's main competitor. This revelation added another layer of betrayal. Was she feeding them information about my upcoming software release? I hired a private investigator who confirmed these meetings and discovered something even more disturbing. Natalie had been building a case, claiming emotional distress and financial control. She had been telling friends and even her therapist that I was psychologically abusive and controlling with money, despite allowing her complete access to our finances and funding her boutique despite its losses. Armed with this knowledge, I implemented Harold's strategic plan. First, I documented everything meticulously, creating secure backups of all evidence. Then I began legitimate business restructuring that had been in the planning stages anyway, which incidentally protected some company assets. I moved my personal savings to accounts that were secure but still transparent and traceable. I made sure every transaction was legal, ethical, and documented. I was not hiding assets but strategically protecting what I had built through years of honest work. For 2 agonizing weeks, I maintained a normal facade at home. I pretended not to notice Natalie's late nights or her increasingly frequent business meetings. I smiled through dinner conversations while my stomach churned with anxiety. I claimed work stress as an excuse to sleep in the guest bedroom, unable to lie beside the woman who was plotting against me. Natalie became more suspicious as she noticed subtle changes in our financial arrangements. She asked casually about business decisions and investment movements. I provided honest but vague answers, watching her eyes narrow slightly as she processed the information. One evening, I returned home early and caught her photographing documents in my home office. She jumped when I entered quickly, sliding her phone into her pocket. "Just looking for that vacation brochure we talked about," she said, with a smile that did not reach her eyes. "I will find it for you later," I replied, my heart pounding but my voice steady. The tension in our house became unbearable. We moved around each other like cautious dancers, all meaningful communication replaced with pleasantries and practicalities. At night alone in the guest room, I wrestled with conflicting emotions. Part of me still loved the woman I thought I knew, while another part recoiled from the stranger she had revealed herself to be. Exactly 15 days after I discovered her plan, Natalie announced she was filing for divorce. She did not cry or show any emotion as she informed me that I would be served papers the next morning. There was a confident smirk on her face, the look of someone who believed they held all the winning cards. "I have been unhappy for some time," she stated flatly. "My lawyer will contact yours to begin settlement discussions." I nodded calmly, despite the storm of emotions inside me. "I understand. I will cooperate fully with the legal process." The next day, a courier delivered the divorce papers. The filing was aggressive, requesting substantial alimony. 60% of all marital assets, full ownership of our home. And most shockingly, 20% of my company's value as compensation for her contributions to its growth. 3 days later, I received a call from Harold. Patricia Winters had reached out requesting an emergency meeting about the asset division. We agreed to meet at Harold's office the following morning. Natalie arrived in an expensive new suit, confidence radiating from her as she took a seat across the conference table. Patricia Winters sat beside her, leather portfolio open and ready. The atmosphere was tense as Harold calmly presented documentation of our marital assets, including the restructured business holdings and legally protected accounts. Watching Natalie's face as she realized her plan had been anticipated was like watching a mask slip. Her confident smile faltered, replaced by confusion, then anger. "He has clearly been hiding assets," she snapped at Patricia. "This is exactly the financial manipulation I told you about." Harold calmly presented documentation, showing all actions taken were legal, transparent, and had legitimate business purposes. He then placed a folder on the table. "We also have evidence that Mrs. Williams has been meeting with executives from CompTech Industries, Mr. Williams' primary competitor, on multiple occasions over the past 3 months," he stated, sliding forward photographs of these meetings. Natalie's face drained of color. Patricia Winters leafed through the evidence with a deepening frown. "You have been spying on me," Natalie demanded. "I have been protecting myself," I replied, evenly speaking directly to her for the first time. "Just as you have been planning to take everything from me." The meeting deteriorated quickly after that. Patricia requested a private moment with her client, and when they returned, Natalie's approach had shifted dramatically. She claimed emotional abuse, financial control, and even alleged I had threatened her business if she ever left me. These accusations were not only false but contradicted by years of financial records showing my continuous support of her boutique. The case proceeded to court for preliminary hearings. Natalie maintained her allegations, her voice breaking, as she described a controlling marriage that existed only in her imagination. I sat silently beside Harold, watching this performance from the woman who had once been my partner in everything. The turning point came when Harold presented evidence from the court-ordered discovery process. Emails between Natalie and Jackson Taylor, the CEO of Comptech, revealed not only an affair, but a strategic plan to devalue my company after the divorce. Once the settlement is final and his company takes the hit from the divorce payout, we can proceed with our plan Jackson had written. Their new release will be vulnerable with the information you have provided. The judge's expression darkened as he reviewed these communications. Natalie's allegations of abuse collapsed under the weight of contradictory evidence and her own documented behavior. Most devastating was the discovery of text messages between Natalie and Jackson discussing their future together after her divorce settlement. "Once I get the house and my share of his company, we can finally be together without hiding," she had written. "The settlement should be enough for us to live comfortably while we build our own business with his technology." When confronted with this evidence in court, Natalie broke down. Through tears, she admitted the affair had been ongoing for 8 months. She claimed Jackson had pursued her initially for information about my company, but that they had fallen in love. She insisted her feelings for me had died years earlier, making her actions justified in her mind. The judge was not sympathetic. He dismissed her claims for extraordinary compensation and indicated that standard equitable distribution would apply with possible penalties for her attempted corporate espionage. Leaving the courthouse that day, Natalie approached me in the parking lot. Gone was the confident woman who had planned to take everything from me. In her place stood someone desperate and afraid. "Felix, we can work this out," she pleaded, reaching for my arm. "I made a terrible mistake. Jackson was nothing serious. We could try counseling, start over." I looked at the woman I had once built dreams with, feeling nothing but a hollow ache where love had been. "There is no starting over from betrayal like this," I said quietly. "I wish you well, Natalie, but we are done." The divorce proceedings concluded with a standard division of marital assets. I retained full ownership of my company with no special compensation to Natalie beyond her fair share of our joint investments. She received 40% of our liquid assets and investments, while I kept the house after buying out her portion. Natalie's boutique began struggling almost immediately. Without my financial support covering the operational losses, she was forced to downsize and eventually relocate to a less prestigious location. I heard through mutual friends that Jackson had cooled on their relationship once it became clear she would not receive the substantial settlement they had anticipated. The first months after the divorce were difficult despite my legal victory. Our large house felt empty and haunted by memories. I would find myself cooking dinner for two, or turning to share a thought with someone who was no longer there. The betrayal left deeper scars than the financial threat ever could. I began the painful process of removing Natalie's presence from my life. I redecorated rooms, donated clothes and items she had left behind, and eventually sold our wedding album at a garage sale for $2, a symbolic price for 8 years of what I now recognized as largely an illusion. Surprisingly, support came from unexpected places. Several friends who had witnessed Natalie's behavior reached out with their own observations. They had noticed her flirtations with Jackson at social events but had hesitated to tell me, not wanting to hurt me with possibly innocent interactions. Most shocking was when Natalie's younger sister Emma contacted me. We had always been close, and she had seen through her sister's facade long before I had. "She changed when your company became successful. Emma told me over coffee one afternoon. The money and status became more important than the partnership. I tried to talk to her about it, but she would not listen. Emma's honesty helped me realize that Natalie's betrayal reflected her character, not my worth or failings. This understanding was the first real step in my healing process. I began seeing a therapist to process the complicated grief that comes with betrayal. Dr. Marshall helped me understand that mourning was necessary not just for the loss of my marriage but for the loss of the future I had envisioned and the person I thought Natalie was. You are mourning a person who never existed, he explained during one session. The Natalie you loved was partly a creation of your own hopes and trust. Accepting that reality is painful, but necessary for healing. Those words resonated deeply. I had loved a projection, a person who appeared to share my values of honesty, partnership, and loyalty. The real Natalie had different priorities entirely. Gradually, I began rebuilding my life on my own terms. With the divorce behind me and my company secure, I channeled my energy into growing the business further. We expanded into international markets and developed new software solutions that increased our value threefold within a year. I rediscovered interests that Natalie had subtly discouraged over the years. I joined a local hiking group, reconnecting with the simple pleasure of nature that had filled our early days together. I took cooking classes, learning to prepare meals that pleased me rather than trying to impress others. I even adopted a rescue dog, a golden retriever mix named Sam, who offered unconditional affection and loyalty qualities I now valued more than ever. Community involvement became an unexpected source of joy and connection. I volunteered at a local coding program for underprivileged youth, teaching the skills that had changed my own life trajectory. Through this program, I developed friendships based on shared values rather than social status or appearances. The healing was not linear. Some days anger would resurface unexpectedly triggered by a song or memory. Other days brought a profound sadness for what might have been. But increasingly, I experienced moments of genuine contentment and even gratitude for the lessons learned. 1 year after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Jackson at an industry conference. He looked uncomfortable, seeing me, his eyes darting around for an escape. I approached him calmly, extending my hand. No hard feelings, I said, surprising myself with the truth in those words. Business is business. He shook my hand hesitantly. For what it is worth, Natalie and I did not work out, he offered awkwardly. I figured as much, I replied. I hope you both find what you are looking for. Walking away, I realized I genuinely meant it. Their failure brought me no satisfaction, only a peaceful acceptance that some people will always prioritize what they can take over what they can build. The most profound lesson from this experience was learning to trust my instincts. The red flags had been there, subtle, but persistent. My initial discomfort with Natalie's changed behavior had been warning signals I had initially dismissed. Never again would I ignore that internal alarm system. I also learned that protecting yourself is not selfish but necessary. By taking legal steps to secure what I had built, I had not only preserved my financial future, but also my sense of agency during a situation where I could have easily become a victim. That decision to act rather than react had made all the difference. Today, I live with a deeper appreciation for authenticity in relationships. I date occasionally, approaching new connections with both openness and healthy boundaries. I am not bitter or distrustful, but I am wiser about the difference between words and actions, between appearance and character. My company continues to thrive now, with a leadership team that shares my values of integrity and innovation. The home that once felt too empty has become a sanctuary of peace and personal expression. My life is fuller and more authentic than it was during the superficial perfection of my marriage. Sometimes I wonder if Natalie ever reflects on what she lost by choosing deception over honesty, taking over building. I hope that someday she finds the inner contentment that no amount of money or status can provide. As for me, I have found that moving forward with integrity was the greatest protection all along. Have you ever had to protect yourself from someone you trusted? What red flags did you notice first? Share your experiences in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more real-life stories about overcoming betrayal and finding strength in difficult situations. Remember, sometimes the most painful experiences teach us the most valuable lessons about ourselves and what we truly deserve in life. Thank you for listening, and stay strong in your own journey.